Well, first of all, I want to say thank you to all of you who made this night possible. And I look at you in reverence through the camera and say, thank you, thank you, thank you on behalf of the American Marine veteran of World War II. I represent those who are still living, less than 2,000 of us, and those who have passed the bar, who are no longer with us, but have families that mourn their going. It's been a long journey for us. See, in 1936, President Roosevelt created something called the Merchant Marine Act. And in that act, he created Kings Point, the academy, officer training. He created 3 bases for basic training for enlisted men. One in California, one in Florida, and one not too far from here in Sheepshead Bend, New York. He created a place for radio officers, radio users to be trained, Hoffman Island, New York. They recruited in all 250,000 men, if I can liberally call 16, 18, 19-year-old people men. And these were all volunteers who came to this chance, not to look for a career, not to look for a job, but they came in patriotism to serve this country. 250,000, there are less than 2,000 of us left today. Now, we had in this country unbelievable industrial production. The ability to deliver came to us, and we did it. We did it at many risks. 3 days after Japan attacked us, the Germans declared war on us and already had their submarines called the Wolfpack stationed off our east coast. And as ships left to either go to Europe or come down to South America and elsewhere, those ships were attacked. And in the first 7 months of that war, we lost 300 ships, half of them U.S., because we hadn't blacked out the areas, we hadn't caused the cities to be blacked out, and the Germans could sit out there and just watch our silhouettes and pick us off. When we came home, what had we done? 1 out of 26 died, we died. 663 held as prisoner of war, and when they went in there, the pay stopped. When their ship was sunk or they got off the ship, the pay stopped. And they were excluded from the GI Bill in many ways. He even had to pay taxes on all of our income, while the American military got a $1,500 exemption. And going back to a time where $2,500 a year was common in earnings, we paid taxes on everything we earned. We come home scarred, sometimes physically, often mentally. We came home with malaria, we came home with ulcers, we came home with asbestosis, which is a disease of the plating of the lungs with asbestos fibers that you get from serving in the engine rooms, which had pipes which were coated with asbestos for insulation. And we came home, many of us, with that unnamed disease, now called post-traumatic stress disorder, and disorder it was. But we delivered. We delivered 15 tons, 100 million. I beg your pardon, let me recite it again. 15 million tons of goods to the UK and Europe. Another 13 million tons to the Pacific, 8 million to the Mediterranean, and 5 million tons to Russia. Plus, we delivered 7 million military personnel and brought them home again to the end of the war. Now, you're going to give us the Congressional Medal for that. We say thank you. In obsequious, we tell you how much we appreciate it, because we were left out of the GI Bill, but then they gave it to us in 1988. 1988, 43 years after the war ended, they gave us the GI Bill. La-di-da. I was over 60 years of age, and most of us didn't have to go back to college, buy our first house, or have medical coverage anymore. But I want to take you to a spot that you may not have heard about in remembrance of us and remembrance of those who served there. I'm going to take you December 2nd, 1943, to Bari, Italy, on the Adriatic, small seaport town, 200,000 people, 30 ships in the harbor. 17 of them will eventually be sunk on that day, 8 burned beyond commission, because those ships were clustered there and the Germans decided to attack. They sent over 105 junkers who attacked, and one of the ships in the cluster was the SS John Harvey. And that ship had in its bows, in its cargo holds, 100 tons of mustard gas bombs. You can look it up. You'll find the information about it today. It was held from the public until long after the war. 100 tons. And while that crew bravely fought the fire on that ship fire hit the cargo area, and that ship exploded. No, it disintegrated. And every living person on that ship and the adjoining ships had their lives taken from us. And then a cloud of smoke arises and covers the harbor with mustard gas. Clouds of fog beyond it, inhaled by many. 1,000 military and merchant marines died in that attack. 1,000 civilians died in that effect. And then he went on with a lifetime of terror because of mustard gas poisoning. Now, June 1942, and this is my last example for you. I want you to remember this because this is important to us. Murmansk Run. The convoys were numbered. This was PQ-17, scheduled to leave on June 1942, into Murmansk, Russia, which is on the Barents Sea. On one side is the Scandinavian Peninsula, the other side is Russia. Temperatures in the water, 45 degrees below zero. You fall into that water, your ship gets sunk, and you're trying to get rescued, you can make it for 3 to 4 minutes before hypothermia takes you. Horrible ice caps, horrible storms that hit the area, and that crew went through that. 35 ships, 24 military, and 5 days from their destination, Admiral Lord Pound, British Admiralty, who was entrusted with taking charge of that area, pulled away the 24 combat ships, pulled them away, and sent them elsewhere because the mighty German battleship, the Tirpitz, was harbored there, and they thought that was going to come out of Norway and attack us, so they sent away the support. And of those 35 ships, 11, remember the number, 11 made it, and the rest didn't. And this is why you give us this honor. And this is why we get this medal. And this is why I say, biased as I may be, we deserved it. Ladies and gentlemen, I thank you again. And when you leave this gracious presentation today, I wish it was in person, that I could touch your hand, shake your hand, and say thank you. Instead, I say to you, when you're with others, tell them about us and say, we gave up our yesterdays for their tomorrows. God bless the United States Merchant Marine. God bless the United States of America. And thank you again.